Hey, what's up, everybody? Chicago Goon here, bringing another Arsenal talk. In this Arsenal talk, I'll be covering a lot of news that's been coming out over the last day and a half from Arsenal standpoint. It goes from I'm gonna go back into a little bit of what Thierry Henry said. I'm gonna go into what was broke today about Hugo Lloris, and then of course a little bit of Pep Guardiola uh, nugget as well. If you follow it on Twitter, if you've seen it on Twitter, good, great news, I guess you can say, for the future of Arsenal. But going into first and foremost the quote from Thierry Henry at Sky Sports. Of course, he's a pundit there. He's been a pundit since he retired back in basically like November, December, and of course he's like covering games and of course giving his opinions, and of course everybody knows the quote by now that I covered it yesterday in my episode about the Chelsea game, but I want to go a little bit more in depth and some of the player reactions as well. But basically he said there's a few quotes. First quote was that he would buy back. He would have bought Cesc Fabregas, brought him back to Arsenal, and then he would have benched Mesut Ozil. Furthermore, he went into saying that Ozil and Giroud just don't cut it at Arsenal, that they're not good enough, in so many words. Um, and then he went on to say as well that Arsenal, this was I believe after the game, Arsenal needs a world-class striker, they need a holding midfielder, and they need a center half and a goalkeeper, I believe. Um, I mean, like I said in my last episode, someone either kicked him in the head, he fell down a flight of stairs. This is one of those moments when you're a pundit, when you're a former player, when you're completely idolized by the fans and celebrated by the fans on a daily basis. This is one of those moments where after the fact that you say it and then you see the onslaught or the chaos that it caused, especially on Twitter last night and even today. This is one of those moments where you say, "Oh fuck, I just fucked up." This is one of those moments that he probably wishes he could take back everything that he said. Because let's face it, the pundits in England they're pretty much a joke. Um, the only ones I really like are Gary Lineker and Gary Neville. To be honest with you, I mean those are like the only two who say it like it is, but at the same time, they don't go overboard. They're not like a Michael Owen or Jeremy Carragher, who will never say a bad word about Liverpool ever. I mean, when you have Michael Owen saying that Philippe Coutinho is, one of the best number 10s in the world, he's the best number 10 in the BPL. It's just a fucking joke. I don't know. I don't see. I know the kid has talent, but to be put on that level is a fucking joke. He's nowhere near the level of a Mesut Ozil or an Iniesta or David Silva, or I mean, name any of the best number 10s in the world, and he's nowhere near that level. How he made the team of the season is beyond me. Just because he had a few crackers over the course of the season, I mean, it's pretty much a joke of how he made the team of the season. But to go back into what pundits say and the crap that they say over and over again on a weekly basis, on a weekend basis, I mean it's laughable. It really is, and especially with Thierry Henry, the things that he said are inexcusable. I mean, he already slapped Arsenal in the face once before by leaving, by saying, there is no ambition in the club. I don't agree with the direction of the club. So guess what? I'm going to hightail my ass out of here and, let Arsenal drown, which they didn't. Yes, they didn't win any trophies for about 8-9 years, but at the same time, we kept afloat. We kept in Champions League. We kept competitive. We kept being competitive in the league, in Europe. making the knockout stage every single year. You know, but again, this is one of the best players that came through the club who pretty much dogged us and said, you know what, I'm out of here. Um, but then for him to come back and try to um, defend Cesc Fabregas. For me, like I said in my last episode, and I've said this many times before, it's not that Cesc Fabregas is playing for Chelsea. It's the fact that of how he left the club. That's the big problem I have with Cesc Fabregas, and he was one of the reasons why I became an Arsenal fan. And for him to come out and try to defend this cocksucker is a joke. It really is. Um, and for him to dog Mesut Ozil like that, who has been 10 times the player that Cesc Fabregas has been in the second half of the season. Yes, Cesc Fabregas had a great first half of the season. He had 15 assists. He's had 2 since then. That's it. For the second half of the season, and all, I think in almost all competitions, he's only had 2 fucking assists. Mesut Ozil, coming back from injury, he's been one of our top players. You can make a case for our best player down to our second best player, even our third best player. He's been lights out. He's been outstanding through the second half of the season. With the exception of Monaco, everybody played like shit at when we played Monaco at the Emirates. But for the entire rest of the season, if he didn't come back when he did, who knows where Arsenal would have been. To be quite honest with you, I know Santi Cazorla filled in and he played well, but let's be honest, he's not Mesut Ozil. Santi adds a little bit more depth as far as scoring goals, but again, I think even Mesut Ozil has scored more goals than Santi Cazorla has over this stretch, and especially open goals as well, open play goals, to where I think almost every single goal that Santi Cazorla has netted this season has been PKs. So. But for him to say that, especially before the game, what a slap in the face. Really, seriously. And again, to go into and then say furthermore, and to go even more in depth about Olivier Giroud, I get it. I get, people, I get some of the critics, that people have an opinion on Olivier Giroud. I get that. He's not a world-class striker. But again, if you look at his stats over this season, he's been out for 3 months, and he's in the top 5 of most goals scored by a player in the BPL this season, and he was out for 3 months. Imagine if he was there for 3 months, for the 3 months that he missed. He would probably be at 20 goals right now in the BPL. At least that. What he missed, at least 12, maybe 13 games of the season, and he's at 14 goals, which tied Alexis Sanchez for the BPL. And I get it. He's not going to be a world-class striker. But he's right in that second tier. He can win us the league. If he was healthy like everybody else was, we probably would have won the league this year. Just like last year, if we would have had the proper squad depth, we probably would have won the league last year as well. But we didn't have the squad depth. Olivier Giroud, he just basically lost his legs in February. He was tired. This season, he got injured for 3 months, came back and just been lights out, scoring goals for fun almost. I think he's scored 8 goals in his last 10 BPL appearances. The only other player that can really say that is probably Harry Kane over a stretch. Other than that, who can really say that? So for him to call out both of those players who play for Arsenal, who really bust their ass on the pitch. Mesut Ozil has been playing like he has been playing, and like he was playing. Excuse me, when he's with Real Madrid. He's been playing like he was in the first half of last season. He tailed off a little bit, then he got injured. Coming back from injury, he started to play well again. If you remember that Everton game in the FA Cup quarterfinals, that game was Mesut Ozil, from the first minute to the last minute. That was his game, and showing those flashes that he did in the first half of the season. But he's been outstanding for us throughout the second half of the season, and to where we're at right now in the league. Of course, just because of goal differential, but we have a game in hand. We're third in the league. Before Mesut Ozil even came back, I think we were what, sixth. I think that was our lowest placement this season, and we were at sixth when Mesut Ozil came back. Now look where we're at. Of course, everybody else came back too, but all pistons firing. For Thierry Henry to come out and say this, it was just a fucking joke. To go any even further, of course, I covered the world-class striker because, honestly, what world-class striker is going to be available this summer? There's probably not going to be one. The only one that I would actually pay £50 million for is probably Benzema from Real Madrid, but they're not going to get rid of him. Who else are they going to get? Yeah, if you want a world-class striker, you're probably going to be spending 60, 70 million pounds because it's so inflated now with the transfer fees from when Bale went. Now, I mean, you look at all the transfer fees. I mean, even James Rodriguez was I mean, again, paying that type of money for a player is kind of ridiculous. So getting a world-class striker this summer is going to be pretty far-fetched unless someone just comes out of nowhere and says they want to leave, which is going to be hard-pressed. Then he says we need a holding midfielder. That one I don't understand whatsoever. Now, is he talking about a backup for Coquelin? Because Coquelin has been the reason too of why we're at where we are right now. That we're allowed to attack as much as we want to now and not have to worry. In that Chelsea game, I mean, there's only maybe one or two chances that I was really worried about the entire game. Other than that, Chelsea didn't do shit. Why? Because we had a holding midfielder back there, covering for the fullbacks, covering for BFG. But again, Thierry Henry thinks that we need a holding midfielder. Okay, you know what? A Patrick Vieira only comes around once a generation. Okay, have we seen a central midfielder, a defensive midfielder of his kind since then? Not really. So for him to come out and say that as well, as good as Coquelin has been playing this season, I mean, is he watching the games? I mean, he's even at the Emirates watching the games, but yet he thinks we need a defensive midfielder still. I could agree with, we need a backup. We need someone to fill in for and to give Coquelin a rest every now and then because he can't play 50, 55 games. No one can do that anymore. We should never allow a player to play that many games in a season anymore, just because of the money and we should have that proper squad depth. Of course, he said another center half. Of course, we don't know what we have with Gabriel. He's had limited time this season so far. He hasn't had really any type of back-to-back games that really he can show himself. And of course, we have Callum Chambers as well too for the future. It seems like more and more that maybe Gabriel and Callum Chambers are going to be the future. Do we maybe need another backup? Probably not, because next season we have a big decision to make. Are we going to keep Debuchy, Bellerin, and Jenkinson all in the books? I kind of highly doubt that. One person's going to go, whether it be Debuchy or Carl Jenkinson. I kind of have the feeling that it's going to be Jenkinson. I have a feeling that a lot of those rumors have been flying around that West Ham is just going to outright buy him from us, and I can see it happening because Bellerin is, from what he's shown as I think he's 20 now, but as a 20-year-old, I mean, the sky's the limit for that kid. He's only going to get better. He's only going to start understanding the game more and more as time goes on. So would you rather have a Debuchy, who is, of course, a veteran? He understands the game. He's been around. He's an international as well. Plays with the national team. He understands both sides of world football, whether you're playing in the Euros or the World Cup and everything like that. So would you rather keep Debuchy around for that veteran kind of leadership to tutor him along? Probably. because Jenkinson is what, like 2 or 3 years older than Bellerin is currently. Um, and so I mean I just don't see it happening. So even on that standpoint, unless a world class center half comes available, Matt Hummels seems like he's already Manchester United bound. That almost seems like it's going to be a slam dunk. So what other kind of center halves, world class center halves, are going to be available? Probably none, because there's so limited. There's so few of them in the world right now, because it's just um, a lot of kids are just not growing up. They want to be goal scorers. They want to be number 10s. They want to be wingers. They rather not be a center half, even though you can make great money being a center half. I think that's one of the more mysteries of football right now, is that there's just not enough center halves, great center halves coming up through the ranks on any standpoint. Um, so getting another world class center half, I just don't think there's going to be one out there. A goalkeeper, I can go into this a little bit. Do we need another goalkeeper? It's possible. Ospina has been great for us. Szczesny, he might be on his way out. Just to see his look on his face when he's sitting there on the bench. You saw him yesterday kind of warming up a little bit when Ospina had, I don't know if what he gets slammed into by, I think it was like Oscar and Koscielny possibly, and he kind of got slammed into and he kind of laid down a little bit. Who knows? It was probably one of those fake injuries where you're just getting everybody a rest. But you saw the look on Szczesny's face, and he just looked, uninterested whatsoever. He just didn't look interested at all. So I think he might be on his way out. So do we go after another goalkeeper? Probably. Of course, we have Martinez as well, who showed well. He had he played in the Champions League. He played in a couple BPL matches, I believe, when both Szczesny and Ospina were out at the same time. So he has promise as well. But is he the answer? Can we go out there and get another kind of like a world-class goalkeeper, which we can? But at the same time, with these comments from Thierry Henry, like I said, it's one of those moments where he said them, and he probably checked Twitter or checked Facebook, and he probably just put his hand on his head and said, "Oh fuck." I wish I could take that back, because he really did fuck up. I mean, if you saw on Twitter, he even posted something today when Bournemouth got promoted to the BPL from winning today. And I clicked on it just to see if there was any type of backlash, and there was a ton of Arsenal fans giving him shit for what he said, even from yesterday. There was even a news article, I think, on the Daily Mail. You can find it. It's on Twitter even. If you just click, if you do a search on Thierry Henry, they wrote an article about it, and they posted all the different quotes from Arsenal fans giving him stick for it. The backlash is real. The backlash is huge. People are bringing back out to where that he dogged us and he left the club like he did, just like Cesc Fabregas. It's not good for him. A lot of the comments were saying, "Thank God you're not our manager." Thank God that this is the other point that pisses me off too. Currently, he's trying to get his coaching badges. Who does Thierry Henry currently coach? The under-16s to Arsenal. And this motherfucker is coming out and saying this shit about Arsenal players. But yet, he's at the club currently as the under-16 coach, trying to get his coaching badges so he can coach whether it be the Championship or the BPL or anywhere in England. But he's coming out and saying this kind of crap about Arsenal players, and it's a joke. It really is. It's unwarranted. These guys are playing their heart out. These guys are busting their ass for the club. Like I pointed out in my last episode. Last summer, before, even during and after the World Cup, there was all a bunch of rumors of Mesut Ozil possibly going to Bayern Munich, that Bayern Munich wanted to buy him. And what did Mesut Ozil do? Say, "No, I'm happy here at Arsenal. I want to stay here, period." Here's a guy, world-class player, one of the best number 10s in the world, saying he wants to be here. Not like a Thierry Henry, says Fabregas, RVP, "I went out." That's what those guys said. That's what those guys did. to this football club, and a lot of that's coming back out. Player reactions. I mean, Francis Coughlin. I love the kid more and more every day. Um, I'm happy he's here. I'm happy that he's our DM. I hope he's our DM for the next fucking 10 years. Because he came out today and basically he doesn't care about Thierry Henry. That much is obvious. He doesn't care that Thierry Henry is a club legend. He doesn't care that Thierry Henry is just a legend in general. He came out and said Thierry Henry is wrong. You know, how many other players would actually come out and say that? Thierry Henry, you know, sometimes, you know, his ego is so big sometimes that just because he says something, he thinks he's going to have every single Arsenal fan back him. And this time around, yeah, I don't think he has one single backer at all, except for maybe a Piers fucking Morgan. You know, that guy's just on a whole nother level of stupidity on his own. Some of his stuff is knowledgeable, but a lot of his shit is just like out left field. But yeah, Coughlin came out and said, nope, Thierry Henry's wrong, and he defended Olivier Giroud. And you know, that's what teammates are supposed to do, to come out and challenge and say, you know what, you're dead wrong. And you know what, I love that about that kid. You know, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about a former player, a former legend. He doesn't give a shit. He's gonna sit there and he's gonna defend his teammates, and that's amazing. That's awesome. You know, the tide is finally turning for us. That we have the right players here at Arsenal, instead of some fucking you know, instead of some fucking glory hounds who only give a shit about themselves, like a Cesc Fabregas, an RVP, even a Thierry Henry. You know, Thierry Henry was, oh, I'm a competitor. I wanted to go to Barcelona and win things. No, you I'm not going to keep on getting into it. It just pisses me off to no end. That this guy just spouts off out of the mouth and doesn't give a shit what it means to the fans or anything like that. If he wants to keep on saying that he cares what the fans say and think of him, well, he better think before he says something else. Because right now, just about every single Arsenal fan is against him. And rightfully so. Just like we have every single right to boo Cesc Fabregas yesterday, or any time he comes back to the Emirates. We have every right to boo him. We have every right to say whatever we want against him. For the way he left the club and the way he presented himself. It's fucking ridiculous. But that's all I'll say about that. You know, if you guys want to say anything more, rant off about it. You know, are you guys disgusted by Thierry Henry and his words? You know, go ahead and, you know, throw them down in the comments. So on to some good news. After that kind of mess. Today there was I guess like a little bit of like a conference amongst the fans and you know, media members and whatnot. You know, of course, Thierry Henry says we need a world-class kind of goalkeeper. Of course, we've been saying that for a while now. We've been waiting for Szczesny to kind of turn the corner and be that goalkeeper. Well, of course, after Southampton, you know, he's not going to be that goalkeeper, obviously. You know, he can't get back into the side. He can't prove himself, you know, other than an FA Cup. And even the game against Reading, he was kind of suspect a couple times. But came out today, the news of the day was Hugo Lloris has a buyout clause within his contract that activates this summer if Tottenham does not make Champions League, which they're not going to. They're still 9 points off with about 4 or 5 games to go. At least as the fourth place spot. Hugo Lloris has a $20 million buyout clause, and he only can get bought by a Champions League team, meaning Arsenal, Manchester United, Man City, and of course Chelsea. The only team that needs a goalkeeper is us. How bittersweet would that fucking be if we activate his buyout clause? Of course, you know, somewhere, you know, teams in France, Spain, Italy, Germany can all activate that buyout clause if they are part of Champions League. How bittersweet, how much of a laugh are we going to have if we activate that buyout clause for only £20 million? You know, I mean, that is kind of high for a goalkeeper, but I guess for a goalkeeper of his stature, which Hugo Lloris is good. He's one of the better goalkeepers in the world. I would rate him higher than Ospina, even Szczesny. Would he help out tremendously right off the get-go? Obviously. He would, but again, just the thought of buying him from Tottenham and him leaving Tottenham for Arsenal, I would have a laugh. I would be laughing the entire summer. I would be laughing, it would be like a Sol Campbell almost. And you got to understand too, where's this information coming from? Of course, it's probably coming from his agent, but it's probably coming from him as well. I know there's a few articles, even like last summer, even this season, of Hugo Lloris saying that he wants to come to Arsenal. You've seen pictures of him and Olivier Giroud, of him and Debuchy. It's fucking hilarious. How awesome would that be? That would just be the icing. That would be the cherry on top of the sundae. It really would. It would be fucking hilarious. And you know what? Arsenal should just do it just because they're the scum, and just because they can keep on knowing that they are forever in our shadow, and it doesn't matter what they try to do or what type of transfers that they try to make for themselves. They will never ever finish higher than us ever again. It would just be beautiful. So would you spend $20 million buyout clause or £20 million buyout clause for Hugo Lloris? I would, just for the fact because it's a scum, and they would lose their goalkeeper. I would do it too, just because Lloris is better than Ospina and Szczesny. He's seasoned. He's a World Cup goalkeeper. He just does it all. I think he would make us better all around. We wouldn't have to worry about that. The goalkeeping at Arsenal for a little bit of while. But yeah, give your comments. Would you pay the £20 million? Would you pay the £20 million because he's a great goalkeeper, or would you pay the £20 million just because it's a scum? Yeah, leave your comments down below and let me know what you think. To go on to the last bit of news, which is probably the best news of the day, the best news that I've heard in a while, as far as what's going to happen after Arsene Wenger retires, which is pretty evident that he's going to retire at the end of the 2016-2017 season. He's going to finish out his contract, and he's going to retire after that season, which is going to be, I believe, 20 seasons total at Arsenal. But a name came out, like I said in the beginning, Pep Guardiola. Right now, that is the dream hire, I guess, from Arsene Wenger himself. Said it. Ivan Gazidis and I guess Arsene Wenger have been working very closely over these last year or so to try to figure out who they can get, who they can replace Arsene Wenger once he does decide to retire. And of course, the name that they said was Pep Guardiola. What a perfect fit would it be? The transition would be next to nothing from Arsene Wenger to Pep Guardiola, just because it's the same exact playing style. Pep Guardiola is, he's a lot more of a tactician than Arsene Wenger is. He's a lot more defensive-minded than Arsene Wenger is. But at the same time, attacking-wise, they're the same. They love that high pace, the possession football, fast moving, get the ball around as fast as you possibly can, and make the best shot. We've all been saying, Jurgen Klopp would be an amazing hire if we can get him. Of course, he is available right now, but again, is he going to be available in 2 years? A lot of people are saying he might be going to Liverpool. Bayern Munich said that they can see Jurgen Klopp as a future manager at some point. That's huge news. That's terrible news if you're Pep Guardiola and he's currently sitting at Bayern Munich. Of course, a club like Bayern Munich, you can put them right up there with Real Madrid and Barcelona as far as winning Champions League. The standards that are set at Bayern Munich to win Champions League If Pep Guardiola, which it'll be probably tough for him to win it this year because they have so many injuries. I think Ribéry and Robin and Alaba, I think they're all out. I don't know if they're going to be available when they play in the semifinal, but at a club like Bayern Munich, yeah, they have money, they can spend money, they're going to get all the best, pretty much all the best German players that they want. But again, the standards are high. If he doesn't win Champions League by next season, by the end of course, next season, it would be the 2015-2016 season, they might fire him. They might let him go. And of course, that would open up the door for Arsene Wenger to go to him and say, you know what, sit on the bench next to me for 1 year and it'll all be yours afterwards. I mean, that would be ideal. That would be amazing if Pep Guardiola became the next manager of Arsenal after Arsene Wenger decides to retire. I mean, that would be fucking amazing. And on top of that, he would have so much assurance. I mean, Arsene Wenger is going to be with the club by the time he retires. For 20 years. Never won Champions League. He's won, of course, the league a few times. Won the FA Cup 5 times. He's going to be a 6-time winner, I believe. So Pep Guardiola is going to have the assurance that he's going to, bring in his own players that he wants, of course, with the current players. He's going to be able to set his own standards. He's going to set his own formation, the players that he wants into the side, and he's going to have time to build. He's going to have time to build the club that he wants, or the roster that he wants, and get these guys to play how he wants. So he's going to have all the leeway that he wants, not like at a Bayern Munich, not like at a Real Madrid or Barcelona, where they want they go through their managers like tissue sometimes. And plus with the Bayern Munich executive coming out and say, after Jurgen Klopp say he's stepping down after the season with Dortmund, that he can see that he can see Jurgen Klopp being a future manager at Bayern Munich. That's tough words. So that's good news for Arsenal. This could play out in our favor over the next couple of years after this season. That it would be a great possibility. I would welcome it, hands down. There wouldn't be any other type of manager that would fill in and make that transition between Arsene Wenger and then Pep Guardiola. I mean, the transition would be next to nothing. It would be the same system, the same everything, except for, of course, defensive minded. Pep Guardiola is more tactician. He knows how to beat those big managers. He knows how to beat Jose Mourinho. He knows how to, he knows how to beat Sir Alex Ferguson. I mean, he made Sir Alex look like a bitch in the Champions League several times. So I mean, he knows how to beat those big managers. He knows how to spend the money. He knows how to, what he wants to get out of those players. It would be a great hire, and it would be perfect for him. Coming to England, coming to Arsenal, still having enough money to spend. A great youth system on top of that. The youth system is just getting better and better of all the players that are coming through and the potential these players have. So I mean, he can have everything all balled up into one. Because right now the Bayern Munich thing, I mean, yeah, he's trying to implement his own system and everything, and sometimes it works, sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes they don't look like the Bayern Munich of old. So it's going to be interesting over the next year and a half of what's going to happen with Pep Guardiola. Does he even want to leave Bayern Munich? Again, like I said, it would be a perfect fit here at Arsenal just because we run basically the same type of system. And we already have players in place that understand that system. It would just be a great hire. And, it's 10 times better than a Steve Bold. I mean, let's be honest here. But, again, leave your comments down below. Is this, if you say no to Pep Guardiola, then you might need to redefine yourself as a football fan because he would be a perfect fit. But let me know, would that be the perfect fit? Is there anybody else out there that you can think of that would be a dream hire once Arsene Wenger does leave? Because obviously Klopp's not going to sit out 2 years and wait for the Arsenal job to appear. There's a lot of smoke that he might be going to Liverpool. There's very little smoke that he might be going to Man City. Um, is there another German club that would pick him up? I don't know. I don't know. He might want out of Germany just for the time being, just because of what happened with Dortmund and the disappointment of this season. So who knows? But leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about this episode. Are you pissed off at Thierry Henry? What do you think about Hugo Lloris? And then, of course, Pep Guardiola news. Of course, anything else happens up until the Hull City game on Monday, I'll throw something else out there. But yeah, a lot of good news today. A lot of disheartening news, of course, from Thierry Henry. But again, pretty big news day if you're an Arsenal fan. But that'll be it. I'll talk to you guys later.